Okay, g'day family. Welcome to the Forbidden History Chronicles. You're here with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series on YouTube, and also Forbidden History Live. Links are in the description. Please subscribe and check the bells on all channels so you don't miss anything. I'd like to welcome everybody. It's going to be brilliant tonight. I can feel it. Desert's doing a special on the symbolism of the sun, so it should be pretty amazing. I'll just get into the introduction. I just saw some hearts in the chat. Hang on. Yeah, love. G'day. How's it going? All right, we'll get into the introduction and then some symbolism. Okay, signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time, who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the Earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Desert discusses the ultimate in mind control, an ancient art, and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl, who I'd like to welcome to the program. G'day, Desert. How's it going?
Hey, Ninja. Doing okay? Making lemonade out of the lemons that they gave to us, you know?
Yeah.
And, so we've got, the part two will be the symbolism of the sun. I have a little bit of, want to go through with the dictionary of all scriptures and myths, as well as a couple examples of the translations, how they are not correct, and how the essence of them is right there, and it's just the weakness of translation or manipulation by priesthood that does it to us, and we have to become scholars in our own right, or at least have access to the correct information. It's not that all of us, hardly, I guess anybody, I'm an abnormal example of a deep scholar, so it's not that everybody has to become like me to be able to, find their transcendence. I'm actually being used, therefore, as a conduit by Yeshua, as an instrument, as a pen, or as a shofar, which is the correct term for scribe, and also Bible, the shofar, the ram's horn, so that everyone else can benefit. So it's not that everyone has to become the deep, truly a deep scholar. It's that what they need is the accurate information. If you're being lied to, then you're not going to have accurate information, and you're going to be led off in the wrong direction, which may not be properly centered for the ability to receive the great breath of the wind and fire, or the Holy Spirit of the great Father of light, to become a second-born in the age of the second-born, the golden age of light that Yeshua ushered in. Notice how I use terminologies that you don't hear anywhere else. How can that be?
Yes.
When these are clearly defined, I clearly define these terms and show them from the scriptures themselves. So it's all been buried and hidden over, but it is. It says another scripture from the Proverbs says it is a glory, something like it is a glory for a king to search out the truth of a matter. So we all have to be Malachim, as royal messengers. Is the word for king. He was not the head. Who we call the king was not the head. He was the Malach. He was the royal messenger, the one who sat on a throne representing the great Elohim, the Elohim, the light, the one who made all things. He's not the head, the king, who we call the king, who is the Malach. He is the instrument. Okay, there's only one head. There's only one sovereign, and this is why when they wanted a theocratic monarchy, starting with Saul, then Samuel said, "Okay, y'all want to be cursed? Go right ahead and do it. But this will enslave your children, and there'll be grief to follow." And so they wanted to be like everyone else. That's the whole thing. We all want to be like everyone else, do what everybody else can do. But the liabilities are clearly associated with that, and so we have to identify who we are, where we are, when we are, and why we are, based on what the scriptures, the Schultzrays, tell us, and also what is revealed through them, because clearly it's been clouded over. And so it's through the dedicated heart, the purifying of the heart and the mind, and the action that then opens everything up, because it will not open up if one is still wanting to engage within the lower aspects of this world. They have to be willing to make a sacrifice, and that shouldn't be hard to do once we realize that, hey, our time on earth is limited. What is there that I can't give up now that I'm ultimately going to give up anyway? That could be keeping me from the true enlightenment that we need.
Yeah. When you put it that way, yeah, exactly. We're giving up things that we can't take with us anyway, that are not going to be there anyway in the end, or in the new beginning. Yeah. Sorry, I'm saying hello to Lynn in the chat as well.
So. Entries you got there, Ninja. I just noticed that.
I'd like to thank Mew Mew for the picture. She sent it to me and said I could use it in the program.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex.
All the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and hi to Lynn and Love out there on the chat. Okay, and hopefully some other friends will come by and join us here. So Ninja. So I'm going to give an example of the I was reading Etheridge's translation of the Aramaic New Testament from circa 1845, and I was at the end of Mark, and let me turn on a little light also here, that will help.
Yeah, you sound okay from here. Can I get a sound check on Desert, please? If
Yeah.
that's okay, family.
Great.
One sec, I just have to shut
Grab.
my door a little bit.
All right.
Sorry. Yes, we are live. Okay, back.
I need to grab a clip for this. Okay, 10-10 all the way.
Yay.
Thank you. All right. So when I was reading, and of course, these scriptures, these Schultz-rays, correct terminology, I've been reading all my life, so it's nothing, I didn't just start yesterday. This has been a lifetime pursuit. Officially read the gospel from beginning to end when I was 16 years old, and shed tears when I got the end of it, thinking they took this really cool guy and put him on a cross and murdered him. That was to me very emotional experience for me, because we know Yeshua, he was just doing good stuff. You're a guy, and then he. But the thing, of course, is not. I think the greatest enigma is not knowing who he is. And there's Shannon. Good to have you, Shannon. Welcome aboard. and so the okay, what was my thought now? I was what was that?
Being sad for Yeshua, because he did nice things. Yeah.
Okay, the thing that I think is the most challenging for our minds, and I'm overwhelmed with how clearly I can see how the universe came to be, and to know the nature of Yahweh and the nature of Yeshua, the nature of these false terms, Lord God versus the Yahweh who is the great Elohim. There's your Lord God. Yahweh who is the great Elohim. There's a story behind that expression, and I was best enlightened by a book called what was it called? My Name is Yahweh. It came out of Germany, translated into English, and so I've had to, and it's it was a deep intellectual read. The guy is obviously a genius in his own right, and how Yahweh is identified through his action, and he wants to be revealed through his action. And so with my experience also, as I talked about my life-saving experiences over and over, in the most crucial times when I needed him, he was there instantly, in the most miraculous ways. And then there's the lulls when, it seems like there have been long periods of time when there was no vision, or, of course, I was part of the problem. If we're not focused and doing right, then there is no vision at times, and we go through a wasteland of where there's no fresh water to drink, of what the proverbial desert. So that's what my metaphor represents. And so knowing the true nature of things, as I wrote the quote, my all-time favorite quote, once I was laying on a concrete slab looking up at a concrete ceiling, being railroaded by Freemasons and pirates on the panhandle of West Virginia on the Ohio River. The wake up is rather profound, but I wrote this quote. Do you wish to once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things, then we can begin to comprehend that there's nothing more to complain about. You see, so when we know that, I even knew that my persecution, I had all the signs that it was a metaphorical a story about the crucifixion of Yeshua. I was in Bethany, West Virginia, where I was staying when the conspiracy fell down. The criminals that instituted were from Wellsburg. So everything happened in the scriptures by the well. I was in the regional jail for 26 months with 2 trials in a town called Moundsville. Moundsville, I found out, was a Native American burial ground, and so therefore I was being buried in a sacred location, and being a spiritual metaphor myself. Dezert-Owl has reflections on Native American culture, because I get the picture and know the metaphor. So the prosecutor is named David B. Cross. So David, of course, is the word for life, the symbol of life. Cross. B is the first letter of that was given power over. A was silent. The first A in the alphabet is consonant and silent, and the story is that the second letter has the power of creation. And so the B, David B, and cross, and I'm being nailed to the cross, this mafiosa, criminal type prosecutor. Looks like an attorney for the mob. That's the guy that was railroading me, telling all those lies about me. And full well knowing that they instituted the crime against me. But so they would be cross, all right. And then when I go to the final hearing to determine whether I'm mentally competent to be fried and fricasseed in a trial, or they could write me off forever, in a mental hospital. Then the first guy that comes up is he was a cool guy that I met, a psychologist in the mental hospital. I was there for 40 days, and I actually got him to make copies for me of my plight so I could send them out to different people and try to get support for my cause. And until they told him to stop it, and he said he couldn't make any more copies for me, but he was a cool guy. And so he gets on the stand first, and then because this was the last hearing before I was either going to have a trial or be written off, and so he gets on the stand, and then the prosecutor says to him, "Okay, could you tell us who you are, please?" And he says, "I am. My name is Ted Glantz, and my license number is 318." And as soon as I heard that, it was bing, And I'm sitting on the side. I'm not sitting with the attorneys. I have nothing to do with the trial. I've refused to participate in the charade with criminals, And so I'd rather trust Yahweh and let him take over. So he when he said 318, it's like, whoa, okay, because he was 318 who were 318 who were circumcised by the mandate of Yahweh with Abraham. He said, to circumcise all the males, and so it was 300 adult males, 318, and also 318 symbolizes the cross and the first letters of Yeshua in the Greek when you read the Gospel of Barnabas. But then when Lotan, not Lot, but Lotan, they left the other half of his name in the Strong's Concordance and didn't put it in the Scriptures. Wonder why? I've revealed that already. Lotan, Lot, he is kidnapped and taken up towards Damascus, and so Abraham goes and rescues him with all of his adult males, 318 of them. So you see, 318 represents the cross, represents Yeshua, and also represents soul salvation or salvation or deliverance. Okay, and so
wow.
Once he goes, my name is Ted Glantz, and my license number is 318. It's like, whoa, okay, so I start now. I'm paying attention here, and I'm thinking, okay, so what does it mean? Now, next thing I'm going to do is try to analyze the words in the name, of the guy. And so this is what I call the Trail of Visions. I've had this all my life with words and association and numbers, and and of course the great miracles that have happened. And this is, I know I have the ability to tell these stories so that other people can be looking for it in their lives, because we have to be awake to the great mystery and to the higher Adic communication of the great Father that he's trying to communicate. Remember, he's spirit. So how does he communicate? He communicates through all of nature, and that even includes other people are a part of nature, even if they're criminals, or whether they're good people. So as soon as I hear the 318, I go, okay, so let me listen to his name, Ted Glantz. So I'll read it backwards, Desert. Okay, backwards, Glantz. Okay, Glantz is like strike, and Ted backwards is dead. Strike the dead. The dead have been paid.
Wow.
I'm being delivered. You see? The Father is speaking to me. I'm the only one who got the message in that courtroom that day. Okay? Father is speaking to me. And there's others like that, that's why I know that, the metaphor of Dezert-Owl that I was willing to accept when I was a deep study back in the late or middle 1980s, when I was collecting books and studying deep and hard. I saw that I was a spiritual metaphor. I associated with Dezert-Owl. Then after 3 years of doing that, I said, well, you're supposed to take on the metaphor according to the traditional. I give you a new name, or I will give you a name that no one else can name, or a good name is to be chosen over the wealth of the world. It says that twice in Proverbs. So to be true to the calling is what I was always attempting to do, because we have to apply ourselves. It's not like standing back as an observer. We have to be the participant in the great drama of this mystery. And so I was always willing to apply myself. So I took on the metaphor, a desert owl, then started using it. And let me take a sip of my drink here. Hang on. So in applying myself, then the Father seeing my heart, just like I climbed the mountain 40 years ago. I climbed Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the contiguous U.S. Okay, so I always was sincere and also what you might say, just good to go. It's from the standpoint of show me what to do. I recognize my problem here, and it started with my parents. What they did or did not do for me, and then I hung out with my friends and learned everything from them, and I was really all screwed up then. Forgive the French, but you know what I mean. That where we learning everything from your friends is like going into an insane asylum and learning everything from people there. Because your friends don't know anything, and this is what was the beginning of my point here. That I now know how the universe came to be, and I'll do a presentation on it one day in the very near future. It's something that's been on my mind. And then to know the true nature of Yeshua, to know the true nature of Yahweh, at least from the simplistic standpoint that he is pure energy and he is beyond the universe. He's beyond. So that's why Yeshua is here as the active agent, as the mediator, because we can't even have a direct correlation with Yahweh. Yeshua becomes the spirit for the Great Spirit, because the Great Spirit is so great that we can't even be in the presence of the Great Spirit. This is part of the mystery. But then when I think about the people out there, how they don't know the true nature, and they use terms like God, they call him God, and this whole mystique of God, who is God, when it's not even a terminology that exists within the true nature. It is the cover, because of the word God being a code. They had in God we trust on the dollar, the gold, had the secret vowel, the one they took a vow to, the vowel L. Then you get the gold we trust. But then if you change the L to an R with another vowel A, you get guard. The God is the guard. It's the guardian that's protecting, that's keeping the layer between the original thought, the original word, which is Elohim, but El is a corruption as well out of the Babylonian Talmud, and it was Ul, and then it's not Lo, but it's Lo, L-O-V, and there's the word for the love. That's where the word love comes from, and then when you read love backwards, L-O-V, you get full for the volumes that came forth through the creation, the volumes of atoms, the volume of light, the volume of the fiery magma that created the land on the earth. All of these, there's all of these terms that defined, read forward and backward. And it's just it's an amazing display of his grandeur that he produced all these things, but nobody virtually has the correct picture. A core can define Yeshua as the only loved seed, as I mentioned last night on Forbidden History Live. The only loved seed. That has been removed from our scriptures. It's gone, and nobody gets what it means, my beloved. That's a cover for my only loved seed, because there is only one loved seed. It's the first, it's the original, it's the proto-gene. It is the atom, the first atom, where everything else became a duplicate of the first. The first is perfect, and then the duplicates, as we know, a duplicate is not the original. And so therefore, in this great mystery, because the only reason Yeshua is perfect is because he was made by Yahweh, whereas then Elohim makes. But when we make something, it's always below us, right? If we make something, we know we are the sovereign over this creation of something we made. That's why the woman is smaller than the man, because it is the male aspect that brings forth the creation, but a creation that you bring forth can only be lower or smaller than what you are, right? You can't make something greater than yourself, right?
Right. Exactly.
You see, you can only, anything you make is only a supplement to what is original, and so that's part of this great mystery as well. That's where the fall comes from, because only Yahweh can make something perfect, and he did. He made that the first atom, and then so that's where we see the parallel in on earth when the first made of all things on earth is made, it's the Adam, or the Adon. The Adon with a D instead of a T now, atom versus Adam, is because now Adam becomes a type, like Yeshua being the first made, Yeshua the first made in the universe, but then the Adam is the first made on earth. So it's a lower projection, a lower picture, but a type that is similar. And because we're dealing with dualities within the storylines that we're talking about, you see, and so these pictures are crucial to recognizing our dilemma within this world and how to see with our inner eye to unravel these mysteries. This is how the scriptures were written, and this is how they were destroyed. So I'm going to give a couple examples of scripture so that people can begin to see and read it for themselves. Because we have to. It's just like a wake up. It's like taking some medication, or okay, now your eyes are open, you're better. And so it's just once we wake up to some key elements, like when Yeshua said to Kefe and the other 11, and when they identified him as the Mashiach or the Messiah, he says, "I give to you the keys." He was given all of them the keys. It sounds like he's only given it to Kefe, but no. And even his name has the key in it, Kefe. The Kefe, the key, the fiery keys of the woman. Fiery keys of the woman. The woman is creation. So it's the fiery keys of the creation that he was given to them, you see? And so that's all I'm doing here, is giving the keys of this creation so that you can then, you won't forget the image, what the image means, and therefore it will make the reading of corrupted scriptures easier to then see through and better interpret, okay? So, okay, let me breathe deeper. I'll be all right.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't even plan on going all through all that, but it was, I think, a good primer, right? And just breathe. Where did that come from? I just opened up my.
I was waiting for you to say
that. It said just breathe. Whoa. Talk about tuition. Look at that. Okay. Thank you very much.
I can't take credit for the graphics. I just stumbled upon it. It's amazing.
Well, that's Yeshua's timing, you see, and now the light is just bursting. It's absolutely bursting. It's beautiful. You're doing some great stuff. Thank you. Okay. Where am I? So I'm in Mark in Etheridge's 1845 Aramaic translation from chapter 16, verse 18. Okay, right at the end of Mark. And it says that and they will and these will be the signs which will follow those who follow. These will be the signs. Because believe is one of those code words again. We don't want to believe anything. We want to know. Okay, so these are the signs. These signs will follow those who follow. In my royal title, they will cast out the dark natures, and with new tongues they will speak. And here it says, and serpents they will take up. You see, and so really the correct, as we know, we talked about the serpent and that we are the serpent. So the correct transliteration of that would have been, because it doesn't make sense. We're going to take up serpents. I'm going to pick up serpents. What do you mean? And so the correct terminology on that is, and the serpent they will strip off. You see, that's the sign that will follow them. They will strip off the serpent of the flesh, okay, and that is a sign. And if the poison, because the poison of this death they drink is probably the way it would have been said, because the poison of this death they drink, but it will no longer hurt them. You see, and so this is how I'm reading it in a different way now, that I can share it with everybody when they read their scriptures. They obviously can see that it reads a bit differently, and we have a different impression. Like we think of, okay, the serpent as being the bad guy, okay, but the serpent is the bad guy, and we are the serpent also, in the flesh. So we have to strip off the serpent. That's what Yeshua was doing in the wilderness for 40 days when he starved it. He didn't feed it for 40 days. He did absorb water, but he didn't drink it. He absorbed it by bathing himself continually in the Jordan River, so his body would be used like a sponge. And he used a long trailing gourd and put it in his colon. The long leaned up against a tree, and then let the gravity feed the water in the long trailing gourd into the colon, and then he would meditate and pray while the water was in his colon and absorb the water to his colon. Now that's the ultimate master, you see, because and we don't even learn about that, how he did that, except when we read the Gospel of Peace of Jesus Christ by Edmond Bordeaux-Ziquet. So we see that because he was a man, obviously he had to take water, and there is an answer to that story as well. Because we always say, gee, he didn't drink water for 40 days. How did he, could he do? He must have been quote unquote God, And no, he was a man, just like us, flesh and blood, and therefore he had to take in moisture for his body, and he does it. But they take all of this stuff. This is why they filtered our scriptures, because they don't want us to see the beauty and the deepness and the richness of these original translations. So continuing on verse 19, and Yeshua, our healer and sunrise, after he had spoken with them, and he said, to meet him in Galilee. He's meeting him in Galilee, verse 7, and because Jerusalem is no longer relevant, it's going to be destroyed in 40 years, and or less, and 35 years, and so they're meeting. Everybody's going to Galilee now. Galilee's the place. That's what's interesting. When I read that this morning, I realized that was where it all began. The lake Gennesaret, the Nazaré, right at the headwaters of the Jordan River, right there, where the first primitive Aryans with Adam came to exist. Right there is where they're meeting, where it all started with the Aryan race. It now ends with the golden age of light, the age of the second born, coming into being now. He rose from the dead. He is the first officially of the second born, Yeshua. And so in verse 19, it says, and after he had spoken with them, into the clouds and the sun, he ascended. Into the clouds, into the sun, he ascended. On the throne of the sun, by the power of Yahweh. So here where it says, and he sat on the right hand of Yahweh. He sat on the right hand. What the power hand is, the right hand. It's the power. So it's transliterated as by the power of. And so he sat on what? The sun throne. The earth is the footstool. Obviously, the sun is the throne. He sat on the sun throne by the power of Yahweh. Okay? And so this is, again, how the scriptures are watered down, and we read them, but we're just like reading, a Dick and Jane reader. See Spot run, Jane, run. Puff is running, run, catch Puff, and just like, these are child's tales that have no, it's just a story, but it has no deeper, meaning, and it's a story about life, and it's association with nature. When did the sun become irrelevant in this story? You notice how all these years we're growing up, they keep talking about sun worship, they this mantra of sun worship. Oh, they worship the sun, the Aztecs or the Mayan, or the Maitreya, or the Zoroastrian tradition. They worship the sun. They don't get it. Or even Native Americans. They in the book Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. They say we worship the sun and the moon. We don't worship the sun. We know that the Great Spirit comes through the sun. You see, it was universal truth. But the secret societies and the Vatican and the Freemasons had to demonize anything associated with the sun because they hate the light, because they're mother and sons of darkness. And while they claim, what do you want, my son? Well, Grand Poobah, give me more light. Yes, I'll give you a little more light, my son. Let me put some more mud in your eye. There you go. It came off the mortar board on that perfect square that we use. Go get lost, little boy. And that's how they feel about all of us and their little lower degrees. The lower degrees are just the little puppies, and they can be kicked out into the gutter anytime they want to kick them in the gutter, because they're used and spit up in the ever-living coin. Am I talking too fast, Ninja, or how are we doing?
No, you keep talking. I have no voice already.
All right.
You're doing amazing. I'm following. So if I can follow, others can too. So yeah, that's right. My gauge.
All right. Well, I'll give you another example, major discovery again today in reading the Aramaic book of Moses, the five books of written by him. That's he actually debated. I can't get over that's actually debated when it's all an open secret, you know. But let me. I'm trying to get this thing way down here. Hang on. Okay, there we go. All right. So let me open up my other book. I've got two Aramaic versions in front of me here, and all right. So I was actually astounded. I've been just like I pointed out that Moses last night. You know, I said, you know, when we read Josephus, we found out that he was told to take water and pour it after, you know, the staff turned into a serpent. And then he put his hand inside his breast and brought it out, and it was leprous. And then he put it back, and it was healed again. Then he was told to do a third thing, and that was to take this water and pour it out, and you will see that it turns to blood. And they took that out of our scriptures. So over and over now, I'm pointing out the things that they removed from our scriptures or switched them out. And so here's another one. Here's another one in Exodus chapter 6, verse 13. And so I'm going to read Lamsa, because Lamsa, they adulterated. These guys with this, the Pentateuch out of Australia with the Aramaic, they've done some pretty profound transliterating. I don't know how they did it. They must have dedicated their lives to studying the Aramaic. I go beyond the Aramaic into the Indo-Germanic, but we pass through the Aramaic on the journey, and therefore it's all relevant. But so when we read what's been Lamsa's, which was corrupted by his controllers that wouldn't publish his translation unless he let them redraft it. So when we read chapter 6 in Exodus, verse 13, we see in Lamsa, and the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron and gave them a charge to the children of Israel and to Pharaoh, king of Madzar, Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But now when I read in the Aramaic version that came from your backwater, verse 13 and chapter 6 of Exodus, and Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, spoke with Moses and with Aaron, and commanded them in the presence of the seed of Israel, and in the presence of the Pharaoh. Yahweh commanded Moses in the presence of Israel and Pharaoh, in his presence, the maidservant of Egypt, the king of Egypt, to release the seed of Israel from the land of Madzar. Okay? And then he gives a roll call. Then Yahweh gives the roll call, starting in verse 14, of all the heads of the tribes. Okay? And then in verse 27, he says, those said to, and this is what was said. Okay? And so chapter 27, verse 27 in chapter 6, the way it should be written, because I can see what it's saying, but it should be written, and this is what was said to the Pharaoh in front of the seed of Israel before Moses and Aaron. Isn't that a profound picture? That just like in Babylon, in other words, that now the sensationalism is just like we saw in Babylon when Nebuchadnezzar was warned a year in advance by the dream he had about the big tree, that the tree was bigger than all other trees, and then it was cut down, and that Daniel told him, that this is Yahweh telling you that you are the tree, O king, and if you don't mend your ways, you will be cut down. And then a year later, he brags and he hears the voice from the sky. So this thing with the voice from the sky is nothing new. In fact, we hear it when a group of men in the Gospel of John wanted to meet with Yeshua, and they went to Philip and said, we came here to see Yeshua. And so he runs and tells him, and then when he comes back to meet them, then a voice comes from the sky saying, this is my only loved seed. Hear him. And so Yeshua says that this voice came not for me, but for all of you. You see? And so here it is that Pharaoh was given notice. Another reason now, another explanation that makes it logical why he didn't kill Moses or Aaron when all the time they're coming back to him, warning him again. Because Pharaoh was given notice from the throne of the sun, which Pharaoh claimed to be seated upon the sun throne with the cobra on his headdress, right? The one that you claim to be Pharaoh, I am. The one you claim to serve, I am.
Wow.
And I'm putting you on notice. You let my firstborn go free, or I will kill your firstborn. You can be sure he thought twice about killing anybody, right?
Wow.
But his son is being threatened. And so he tested all the miracles over and over and over.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at the very end, and remember, you're getting it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are.
Nobody is conveying the accuracy of our scriptures from the past. And I have to read 30 different versions in order to find this mystery opening up. Multiple translations from the Aramaic alone, and leave no stone unturned, okay? Because we can't leave any stone unturned if we want the truth from the tree's roots. So at the end of the chapter, verse 28, and it was in that day that Yahweh spoke with Moses, and before all of the land of Dezert. So literally the voice came down. This is why they were so courageous in being able to go before Pharaoh over and over. These signs are paramount to give strength to Moses. Just like my victory of light that I talked about, the different experiences I had give me continual remembrance of who I'm serving and who has called me out into this mission. While I'm surrounded by Freemasons who want to do me harm, and have worked overtime for 5 years here to damage all of my efforts and to rob me of all of my data off my computer. All the little games they play to try to run me over, to give me death threats, to ring my phone off the hook. All their little boy tricks. That they're going to play the games. These Dezert-Owl, the Egyptian, who they claim to be, who they love. They love Dezert. They love Egypt. So guess what? They're the scapegoat. They're the ones going down. When they're coming after me, guess who's going after them, Ninja?
Am I talking now? Sorry, I was.
That's all right.
Yeah, you get on a roll, and I just sit here with my jaw on the floor. And I need to borrow Shelley's spatula.
We are in the story.
Yeah.
We are in the story. You have to see yourself in these dramas because you are. These stories are about you on the macrocosm. You are the microcosm. This story of Dezert, Egypt, is the macrocosm. It's a reflection of our coming out, of our being set free. Remember, they were the firstborn. Israel was the firstborn, and that's why they were ultimately rejected. You see, they in the metaphor, some of them became the secondborn in the story. But what it said, all the adult males, none of them made it to the promised land, other than Joshua and Caleb, and not even Moses. Not even Moses, because he was the first of a type, as it said that one will come after me who is like me. You see, so the first created is the type, but the second created is what is perfected. And so that's why Moses didn't go into the promised land, because it was a symbol. It was symbolic. But yet we find the word Messiah in his very title, because Moesha is Moeshayak. Moeshayak, Messiah. You see, there it is. Okay. So he is the Moeshayak in type as an illustration, so that we can then benefit from these stories that came down the pike, because they are allusions to the struggle that will have on the inside. Those are external struggles, but the struggle we have on the inside will then be a type, so that we remember, oh yeah, I remember all these miracles, all this greatness. That's why they couldn't make me flinch in my persecution and trials and incarceration, because I knew who I served. I knew who they were, and I knew who I was, and I knew who I'd been on my knees before all my life, and that who he was, Yeshua, his power, his ability, nothing he can't do, babe. If you're right, you've got to be right, and so that's the great secret. You see, we're the problem, and we have to overcome become the that serpent. That serpent is the problem. And so this is what the story's about. He put the serpent on a cross, and he went around the camp, and he says, if anybody can see it, they can be healed. They were stung by scorpions and serpents. They were dying, and it was the sting of death. They were symbolic of the sting of death in this world that we all have. We all have the sting of death of the serpent, which is the flesh. And so we have to become the second born, which is of the spirit. This is the great mystery. All right, so there you go, making history, being a part of history. NinjaCat 111 on the Forbidden History Chronicles. I'm wanting to say wow now, okay? Because I'm seeing things I've never seen before. How long did it take to get here?
I can't even imagine the amount of wow moments you have a day, Desert. Just, mind-boggling.
Well, there's a great burden with knowing a lot too, because it means more is demanded of you, and I feel that as well. You know? And so that's why we're going to start doing the broadcast 7 times a week now. We're taking off Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we're with you on Wednesdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and then Yo Shelley, she's agreed to bring it on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Forbidden History Live, and then on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and then Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Special earlier time slot on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm doing 7 times a week now, which is really what I'm up to, because I have so much to get out, and that will help me get a rhythm, and I think we'll be able to reach more people, because the more we're available, then more people will come in. So can I do a quick break here, and then we'll come back in about 3 minutes?
Okay.
We'll pick it up.
Are we coming back with the symbolism of the sun yet? Just so I know, or is that later?
I have a short clip out of the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths, and then we're going to be right into the main feature on the symbolism of the sun. That'll
okay, sorry, I'm just getting the graphics ready. I didn't want to put it up early.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, it's telling me to just breathe. Is it okay to breathe then?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's fine. I have to remind myself as well. So it's good to have it sitting there in writing in front of me. Yeah.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay. We'll be back after this break. Okay, welcome back to the Forbidden History Chronicles. You're here with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series, and also Forbidden History Live, both on YouTube. Both links are in the description of all of these live streams. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe and check the bells to be sure to get all of your notifications. And Gimpy, you behave. Stay away from the computer. Sorry, I've got two crazy cats jumping around at the moment. Welcome back, Desert. How's it going?
Thank you. Well, we're hitting the ball out of the ballpark, I think, aren't we? With some of these great discoveries that are coming to us here. So we're, the scriptures. So my whole life has been dedicated to, transliterating the scriptures because I saw the problem. There is no good translation because the people don't even know the code words of the occult, witchcraft and these religious terms that are not of the original. Like blessed and righteousness and holy and
all the words that people use a lot.
Yeah,
over
right.
and over.
And then the other words as well, lo and behold, beloved. All of these terms are code words that have taken away from the original. There is an original sense. Confucius said there is an original sense within a word, and whenever that can be discovered, it needs to be used because that which is first is superior and, of course, original.
Sorry, Desert. I've got Ninja knocking over things everywhere.
Okay.
Please continue. I'm just going to pick some things up off the floor.
All right. Bread and water for Ninja. All right.
All right. All good.
Okay. I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. I think because it's a secondary feature today, I'm going to go right into the symbolism of the sun. I'll just jump over there.
Okay.
And,
sorry, I interrupted.
It's a big enough read, and I'd rather make sure I get it out.
Yeah.
Than,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Swan, sun. Hang on. I'm almost done with this book after 40 years of reading it.
Wow.
Okay. So let me get a weight to hold this page down here, and we'll get going. So wait a minute. Yeah, this book keeps. All right, there we go. That way I can hold the mic at the same time. Symbolism of the sun. Look at that. Okay.
I've been waiting to put that one up. See, I had to time it.
Yeah, she's been waiting. All right. Good color. Like the color as well. Reminds me of those creamsicles we used to get when we were little. They were really tasty. They had the same color.
Really?
The ice cream man around, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, sun. That was in the illusion, of course, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so here we are, sun, and we're reading out of the dictionary called the Dictionary of Symbols by Cirlot, Cirlot, and it's from the Philosophical Library. I had two different books on symbolism that I've been reading back to back, and just great to compare definitions as well. So the sun is, of course, most relevant because everything came out of the light, and everything goes around the sun. The sun is at the center. It tells a story by the arrangement, by the nature of it, but there's a lot to it. And so first thing I want to do is go to the word eagle, because the eagle is the symbol of the sun, and I mentioned that last night as well. So let me find the eagle, and we'll start there. Okay, eagle. Oh, why do you have to be such a big definition? I don't think I'm going to do the eagle. I'll just lead into it. A symbol of high status, of the spirit as the sun, and of the spiritual principle in general. The Mitzrayim Egyptian hieroglyphic system, the letter A is represented as the figure of an eagle. So what did I say all along? That eagle is Agal?
Yes.
Remember I talked about that?
Yes.
And here it says that even in Egyptian, the letter A represents the figure of an eagle because it is the A goal, flying next to the sun. The A is the symbol of the sun. The eagle, the A goal, is the symbol of the sun. It is the bird of the A.
Desert.
I mean, the bird of the eye, because he sees farther than all other birds, flies higher than all other birds. That's the sacredness of that symbolism.
Wow, can I just jump in?
Sure.
Here in Canberra, at the Russell offices, which are military offices, right out the front, there's a square patch of grass and a pillar or obelisk with an eagle on top, and the wings are up in the shape of a V. And yeah, I just thought of that when you were talking about the A as well, with the eagle's wings.
Right, and as you're talking, I'm almost wanting to be more convinced that the phoenix, even though it has an unusual design when we see it in graphics, it may actually represent the eagle. Now that I'm thinking about it, because what other bird is more superior than the eagle? And they want to then cloak it in a unique shape that is a mythological bird that by nature does not exist, and it says that the eagle the phoenix every 500 years flies back to Egypt.
Wow, sorry. Please continue.
And burns up, and it's really represented. It's a metaphor for the civilizations, and out of the ashes of the phoenix or of the eagle. Then, because obviously USA is represented by the eagle, so it's a double-headed eagle there. Then out of the ashes comes another serpent, and so the serpent is a culture, it's creation,
wow,
and society. So China is the next one coming up. America is going down. 500 years since the phony discovery by Christopher Columbus, and now they're closing up shop as we see. The ship of state is pulling out. They're pulling out. Okay, so let's read about the sun. So in theogony, the sun represents the moment surpassing all others in the succession of celestial dynasties. Okay, well, the reason it would be the moment surpassing all others is because that's where it all began. Let there be light, boom, and there is, and then after that comes everything else. You see, so he's speaking. He's not literally saying it, because he speaks in code. This Jesuit priest, he's an artist. He's an artiste. He's not literally, maybe an active Jesuit, but a Jesuit adjutant, just like the captain of the Titanic was. So he knows the secrets, and he also knows how not to say things literally. But I saw it immediately here, right? So let me try it again. In theogony, the sun represents the moment surpassing all others in the succession of celestial dynasties. Interesting terminology, celestial dynasties. Because it does the sun is the representative of the great royalty of Yahweh and his only loved seed, Yeshua. Okay, so in the succession of celestial dynasties, when the heroic, I'll just move away from that abbreviation. In theogony, the sun represents the moment when the heroic principle shines at its brightest. That's Yeshua, the logo, symbol of the sun. Thus, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter comes. Here he's saying, thus after Jupiter, Saturn, and comes Helios, Apollo. So he puts the sun last, you see, but the sun is first. So he reverses the order. So on occasion, the sun appears as the direct sun. The S-U-N appears as the direct sun, S-O-N. You see? S-U-N appears as the S-O-N, and the direct S-O-N, the direct sun, and heir of the God of heaven. He says here, God of heaven, the great pool of Haim, Yahweh, of the sun, the one who keeps it going. And Kurape notes that he inherits one of the most notable and ethical of attributes attributes of this deity. He sees all, and in consequence, knows all. In India, sounds like Yeshua. You see, he knows it. In India, as Surya is the eye of Varuna. In Persia is the eye of Ahura Mazda. In Greca as Helios, the eye of Zeus, the supreme god, although he was the son of Jupiter. And it's a parallel story to the one we follow from Esha-Rayul. The eye of Zeus or Uranus. In Maitar, Egypt, it is the eye of Ra, the ray. With its youthful and filial characteristic, the sun is associated with the hero, as opposed to the father. Okay? Because it's his symbol. See, the father is honoring the son while the son honors the father. And that's that duality within their oneness. Who connotes the stars, okay? So the sun is associated with the hero as opposed to the father, and we could also regard it as a shield. Who connotes the stars, although the two, sun and sky, are sometimes equated together. Hence the weapons of the sky is the net, the pattern of the stars, or of the power of binding, while the hero is armed with the sword, the Eshavor, the flaming sword, synonymous with word, symbolically associated with fire. And it is for this reason that the heroes are promoted to solar eminence and even identified with the sun itself. That's what they hated, the sun.
They pretend, Desert. They pretend.
You know, they're good pretenders,
Yeah.
right? That's Lucy, clothed with the light. In a given period of history, and at a certain cultural level, the solar cult is predominant. If the solar culture is predominant, if not only one. Fraser, however, as Eliade has noted, brought out the divergencies of the solar elements in the sacred rites of Africa, of Australia, and Oceania as a whole, and of North and South America. The cult of the sun reaches, see how they spin it as a cult, you know, where the correct terminology would be a culture. The culture, we are all literally seed of light. We just haven't recognized it. And that's why we are just, as the firstborn seed of darkness, because we have to wake up to the light. In the beginning, we have no light in us. We have to see the light from the distance. And then we want to draw near the light, and the light comes to us. And so we are focused on the light. When we are focusing on the light, then we become seed of light. So we're all obviously created from the light, but we fell into darkness. And so man has no goodness in him. He has no light in him at the beginning. He is filled with darkness. He is void. He is empty. He knows nothing. As Paul says, Paul said that there's nothing good in us, and no, not one of us, and that he counted all things as excrement, that he could win the knowledge of Yeshua. Okay, so that's the great mystery. The cult of the sun reached an advanced stage of development only in the New World. The cult of the sun reached an advanced stage of development only in the New World. This is interesting. Where's it going here? And most advanced of all in Mexico and Peru. Okay, so the New World being the Old World in the sense of that these are the ancient cultures like the Mayan and the Aztecs and those other cultures, the Paracas, and they were as we see on the monuments as well. So, but he's not correct, because even Maitar, Egypt, is the culture of the sun. Heliopolis, of course, is where the pyramids are, and they are symbols of light. So he's only telling part truth again and withholding the other. Iliad concludes that since there were the only lands in pre-Columbian America to evolve a viable political system, it may be concluded that there is a parallel between predominantly solar cults and historical forms of earthly existence. No kidding. We must not overlook the fact that Rome, well, that's what the fasciae represent, the fasciae or fascia, and the fascia means the creative eye, the creative royal eye. The creative royal eye is the sun. So there, again, with the fasciae, the axe, the battle axe in the middle, is a representative of the sun, just like the sword, the axe that cuts. Okay, so we must not overlook the fact that Rome, the most powerful political force of antiquity, no, I think it was Persia, the fire sons, those who recognized the light of the sun as well, Aurora through Zoroastrianism, and the most powerful, supposedly, political force of antiquity, certainly tyrannical in comparison to Persia, and the originator of the historical sense, upheld solar hierophany, which during the empire dominated all other cults in the form of Mithraic ritual. Yeah, Mithraism became occultic, from a pure tradition to a corrupt tradition, just like they did Christianity, just like they did with Judaism, just like they did with Islam. Well, Islam was corrupt from the beginning, that's the thing. And heroic and courageous force, that's because, just to include, they were created by the Vatican. Never was a legitimate spiritual tradition, unlike the others that were. And heroic and courageous force, creative and guiding, this is the core of solar symbolism. It may actually come to constitute a religion complete in itself, as is shown in the heresy of Ignatin in the 18th dynasty of Mozart. Here, the hymns to the sun are, setting aside their profound lyrical interest, expressions of theories about the beneficent activity of the Malik of astral body, the king of astral bodies, the sun, of course, our mother star. The sun on the horizon had long served the Mediterranean of the ancient empire as a means of defining brightness, no doubt, or splendor. They were also forcibly struck by the analogy between the daily disappearance of the sun and the winter solstice. At the same time, there was, for the primitive astrobiological mind, an essential connection between sun and moon, analogous to that between heaven and earth, sun and earth, and that what's in between sun and earth, going around the moon. There's your Lucifer coming in between the light and the lower garden. The Lucy that's barren, has nothing on us, nothing in her. A dead planet, a star, a dead star, a moon. It is, and I just wanted, there's a graphic up here showing sun and moon, and I just want to see if I'm missing anything on that. The sun and moon, symbols of the active and the passive principles of the universe as intellicatus, angelicus, and humanus, intellicatus, respectively. Okay. Continuing, it is well known that for the vast majority of peoples, the sky is symbolic of the active principle related to the masculine sex and to the spirit, while the earth symbolizes the passive principle, convent with the feminine sex and with matter. Matter is mother. These equations, nevertheless, are occasionally transposed, and the same thing happens with the sun and moon, solar passion, so to speak, with its heroic and fierce character clearly had to be assimilated to the masculine principle, and the pale and delicate nature of lunar light with its connection with the waters of the ocean and the rhythm of a woman, obviously had to be classified as feminine. are certainly not constant, but the exceptions do not invalidate the essential truth of the symbolism. And as I've said, each orb, sun, earth, and moon, each of them has within it a symbolic and relative expression of male, female, and the seed, which is the sun. There's 3 in 1, and when you add them up, you get 9, and when you include all 9 as 1, then you get the 10, and there's judgment, the judgment of light. So, continuing here, even physically speaking, the moon merely fulfills the passive role of reflecting the light which the sun actively diffuses. Many primitive tribes hold that the eye of the sun, the eyes of the sun or the moon, located on either side of the world axis, and there are prehistoric drawings and engravings which may be interpreted after this fashion. Elade notes that for the pygmies and bushmen, the sun is the eye of the supreme god, or supreme deity. The Samoyeds see the sun and the moon as the eyes of the sky, the sun being the good eye, and the moon the bad eye, the corrupt eye, the evil eye, as it says here. One can see here an unequivocal instance of the symbolism of dualism expanded by the assimilation of that ethic polarity. The idea of the invincible character of the sun is reinforced by the notion that whereas the moon must suffer fragmentation since it wanes, it dissolves, before it can reach its monthly stage of 3-day disappearance, the sun does not need to die in order to descend into the grave. It can reach the ocean or the lake of the lower waters and cross it without being dissolved. In the great mystery, in the metaphor. Hence, the death of the sun necessarily implies the idea of resurrection and actually comes to be regarded as a death, which is not a true death. For this reason as well, ancestor worship is associated with the cult of the sun in order to offer the symbolic promise of protection and soul novation. The reason Yeshua breaks out of the tomb at sunrise. The great sunrise is what he brought us, the great age of enlightenment. Although we don't see it, megalithic monuments are based upon the amalgamation of these two cults. Thus, the broadest and most authentic. So we see there are 2 cults. Just want to clarify. We got the lunar cult and the solar cult. But the solar culture, those who know the truth, just recognize the truth about where we came from. Whereas those who are embracing the lunar culture are the Luciferians, those who are in darkness, those who are corrupt, those who hate everybody else. Okay, where we get from the light is the true love, to love your enemies. You know, whereas the other cult, they hate everybody. They hate the children. They hate the little ones. They hate themselves. They are the antithesis to the original intent of creation. But those in the fall are the scapegoat because they're not going. Thus, the broadcast and most authentic interpretation sees the sun as the cosmic reductio of the masculine force and the moon of the feminine. This implies that the active faculties of reflection, perfect judgment, or willpower are solar, while the passive qualities, imagination, sentiment, and perception are feminine, with intuition possibly androgynous. The correspondences of the sun are chiefly gold among the metals and the colors yellow. Alchemists regarded it as gold prepared for the work, or philosophical sulfur, as opposed to the moon and Mercury, the metal, which is lunar. Another alchemic concept, that of the soul in Homi, or the invisible essence of the celestial sun, which nourishes the inborn fire of man, is an early pointer to the way the astral body has laterally been interpreted by psychoanalysis, narrowing its meaning down to that of heat energy, equivalent to the fire of life and the libido. Hence Jung's point that the sun is, in truth, a symbol of the actual source of life. Well, not only is it the symbol, but it is actually the source. It's the symbol and the source, actually, and of the ultimate wholeness of man. But here there is probably some inexactitude, for totality is in fact uniquely symbolized by the conjunction of the sun and moon as king and queen, brother and sister. In some folklore traditions, the urge to allude in some way to the supreme excellence or supreme good, supreme perfection, which by definition is incapable of definition, is met by the saying to join the sun and the moon. Now having established the principal term, this is the last paragraph here, now having established the principal terms of solar symbolism as an heroic image, Sol Invictus, Sol Salutis, Sol Aiustade, as the divine eye, the active principle, and the source of life and energy. Let us come back to the dualism of the sun as regards its hidden passage, its night sea crossing, symbolic of eminence like the color black, and also of blindness or sin or darkness. Occultation, that's what the letter I does in the sin of the SN. Unlike SON, SUN, SIN is the occultation and expiation, the hiding of the light, the blind. In the Rig Veda, Eled reminds us the sun is ambivalent. On the one hand, it is resplendent, and on the other, it is black. They made it black, the black sun, or invisible, in which case it is associated with Chthonian and funeral animals such as the horse and the serpent. Alchemists took up this image of the soul Niger to symbolize prima mater and the unconsciousness in its base, unworked state, the primeval, what we call. In other words, the chaotic at the beginning. In other words, the sun is then at the nadir, in the depths out of which it must slowly and painfully ascend towards its zenith. This inevitable ascent does not relate to its daily journey, although this is used as an image. Well, the illusion is created by the earth. The illusion is therefore of the earth, you see, because it's always at high noon. It's right there. We are the one that is turning. We turn away from the light. You see the metaphor there. This inevitable ascent does not relate to its daily journey, although this is used as an image, and hence it is symbolized by the transmutation of prima matter into gold, passing through the white and red stages. The gold represents the sun, and the gold is what you really have to work for if you want to find it. And most of us don't have any gold. Like the sun itself, okay, and so let me try back up here. And hence it is symbolized by the transmutation of prima matter into gold, passing through the white and red stages, like the sun itself in its orbit, and when it sets and rises in with the red cherry beams, the cherubim. There's your cherubim, your what they call the cherubim. The cherub is the cherry, the red, the fire.
Wow.
It's
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The wings are there, right? The wings are flying with the sun in these moments. That's where the picture of the disc with the wings on it comes from.
Yeah,
see?
wow.
But nobody finds that either, Ninja, you know?
Yeah.
So like the sun itself, its orbs, of undoubted interest as an indication of its the intensity of man's attitude towards the sun. He doesn't even regard the sun. He's got no connection with the sun in his own thinking. Is the reference by Tacitus and Strabo to the sound made by the sun as it rises in the east and drowns in the oceans of the west. The sudden disappearance, the sounds we could say are nature itself, right? The birds start singing. The sudden disappearance, all light, everything comes alive, and it goes silent when the sun goes down, right? The sudden disappearance of the sun below the horizon is related to the sudden death of heroes such as Samson, Hercules, and Siegfried. And I got another definition on the sun, and then we're almost done here. The 19th enigma and of the tarot pack, and we, just because we relate to the definition here, talking about tarot, doesn't mean we endorse tarot cards or anything of that nature. But it is relevant to know about these things because their symbols are speaking, and it's all evidence. They know the true metaphors and the original symbols, and the occult are keeping them for themselves, having a party on you and me. So the sun, the 19th enigma of the tarot pack, the allegory shows the disk of the astral king surrounded by alternating straight and flame-like rays, golden and red, symbolizing the twofold activity of the sun in giving out warmth and light. Beneath the sun, from which a golden spray is falling, are a young couple in a green field, and it sounds like Adam and Eva.
Yes.
And in the background there is a wall. This couple symbolizes the Gemini under the beneficial influence of the spiritual light. The male and female, the opposites. They both look like males, but one is the hidden woman. The sun is the astral, so it's hiding within us, and it is us as the material world, the serpent. The sun is the astral body of immutable constancy, and hence it reveals the reality of things, not their changing aspects as the moon does, because the light is stable. The light is the one. It is related to purification and tribulation, the sole purpose of which is to render transparent the opaque crust of the senses so that they may perceive the higher truths. But the sun, apart from providing light and heat, is the source of supreme riches. That is what we would call the treasure in your soul, the treasure of heaven. And this is symbolized in the allegory by the golden drops, which, as in the myth of Dane, rain down upon the earthly couple, and we could also include the silver tray having on it the golden apples. The golden apples are what we would prefer. On the positive side, this enigma symbolizes illumination, spirituality, and transcendence in spirit. On the negative side, it stands for vanity or an ideation incompatible with reality. So the negativity being, for instance, somebody thinking they're better than everybody else or smarter than everybody else. I'm bright, you see, in that sense of egotism, or the occult, who are taking on the guise of being of the light when they're of the darkness, like the Freemason. And then one more on the sun, supporter of sunshade, a solar symbol, an emblem of authority and dignity, in one of the 8 allegories of perfect fortune in Chinese Buddhism. It incorporates the symbolic ideas or concepts of irradiation and protection. And then one more, because I think it's relevant, it's superiority. All of these right next to each other. And, of course, the sun is the most superior symbol within all of the universe. Let me just take a sip of my drink here, Ninja, and then we'll finish this final definition. I'm glad everybody's tuned in, and hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is all information that's relevant for our knowledge of where we are within this cosmos. All right. Superiority. In certain Babylonian rites, the higher Gamos was represented by an act of erotic consummation between a priestess of Ishtar and a slave, who was afterwards put to death. This was not an act of cruelty, but the inevitable consequence which attended the act of the slave, as the shadow pursues the body, right? We walk in the light and we've got a shadow, and the shadow is of the lower reflection. It is a type of us, but it is not us, yet it is a reflection of us, the shadow.
Wow.
For if he had been left alive, talking about the slave, if he had been left alive, the remainder of his existence would have been a living death, since he had experienced contact with the superior. Okay, so it's all symbolic then. This whole saga of the vestal virgin or the slave with the priestess, which represents Ishtar, the light, the phony light, of course, but in this drama. So it's all symbolic. The same may be said of Lazarus, and this is the meaning of the myth of Semele, consumed by the fiery radiance of Jupiter, whom she sought to see in all his true and essential illumination. The superior destroys, burns up the inferior. But for
stop you there. My OBS just disconnected and reconnected.
It's good.
1 second. I'll just see.
Surpassing the ordinary and the commonplace is a sign of special favor and a symbol of absolute transcendence. He who dares to desire the superior thereby invites comparison with it. If he succeeds in entering into the domain of this superiority and withstands it, then he is invested with it. But should he prove unworthy, then he must needs be destroyed. Every limiting situation, every extreme trial, such as placing one's hand in boiling water, for instance, which the Jesuits love to see people do. Yeah, if you can grab that thing at the bottom of the bucket while the water's boiling, we'll know you're innocent. Give me a break. For instance, denotes the same idea. The knight conquered and devoured by the dragon is thereby proved inferior. Only the knight capable of vanquishing the dragon is where the dragon, the serpent, is the body. It's conquering the self. That's what that great myth is all about. That only the knight capable of vanquishing the dragon, that serpent, is worthy to confront it. Aspiring to the hand of the princess is another expression of the same idea, as Plato observes in the Republic. All great things are fraught with danger. And so there we have the definition of the sun, ladies and gentlemen. And you, of course, are here first. And we're so happy to bring it on and to try to share with you what nobody talks about in these great mysteries of life, the metaphors, the symbols, the enigmas of our time. You know, we have to hear things we've never heard before in order to compare apples with oranges, perhaps with plums and pears and tangerines. You know, well, those are relevant fruits as well, and the more that we have to compare with, the more we can see things with the inner eye. Okay, so anything on your end, Ninja? I'm going to hold everything else for another time in these books. I can tell I'm wearing down now with the presentation here.
Yeah, that was amazing, by the way, as usual. I wrote down a couple of things, but there's one that really stands out now. When you were talking about Jupiter and Zeus being the son of Jupiter, and the ones that are in darkness that are pretending to be the false light, and we have the quote unquote antichrist that's supposed to be coming in on a cloud bathed in light and all that sort of stuff, right? I'm getting at something here. When you mentioned Jupiter, lately I've been seeing a lot of things around YouTube, people saying, is Nibiru Jupiter? Is Nibiru actually Jupiter? And it's big channels that are promoting this idea, and I see connections there. Like, it's all making sense. Yeah, what I see is just one big lie that they're promoting.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, they've changed the narrative now because they've been waiting so long for Nibiru to come by with Nemesis, the dwarf star, and it's not happened. They've got to, you know, create something more sensational now. It's all, of course, brought to us by the occultic governments that are orchestrating all the false narratives, and from flat Earth to all the other things, aliens, those type of things. Not to say Nibiru and Nemesis are not out there, because I tend to think that they are, but there's no way to know that they will do a close flyby, or if there will be distant this
I
time
think
around.
they're mimicking it and forcing things, to their agenda. Yeah.
Now, so what's interesting when you talked about Jupiter is I flashed on the fact that in the mythology, Jupiter ate his children, and so
wow.
Zeus is the conqueror. Zeus is the son of God, a son of Jupiter, and but he becomes the supreme. And so there's a direct correlation with the story of Yahweh and Yeshua. And so this aspect of Jupiter eating his children in the mythology means that that's ultimately what we see with the firstborn, right? Because the firstborn are destined to die. What did we just read in the story of the superiority? That the one who the superior I had the direct correlation, but the superior destroys the inferior. Right. In other words, the slave had to die because it is part of this great mystery. In other words, it's the proverbial scapegoat. It's tragic. It's tragic, when it says that many seek to enter into light, but only a few are going.
Yeah.
And so that everybody else then is the scapegoat. They're not going. They will be consumed. In fact, they are already consumed. The fire is here. It is now. They are in the consumption. And that's why there's perpetual war, perpetual turmoil, perpetual raping of boys and girls by these occultists, the perpetual suffering of animals, the mass production of institutions that are antithetical to all life. There's just the experiment, as they call us here in America, this institution called the United States of America, Vatican Run, is an experiment, the great experiment. They always used to say, they're giving us the idea that freedom was an experiment. Give me a break. Freedom is not an experiment. We are the experiment of these occultists who want to do every little dirty trick to us and see the results, and they can write about it, and know what really works for their benefit, of course, not for ours. Mind control. So the others are consumed by this great enigma that the sovereign knew that when he brought forth the creation, that predominantly it would be dark. So just like we see the darkness at night in the sky, and then there's just these little points of light. So the majority, the mass, are in the darkness, and just little points of light will come out and will be saved. And so that's why it's important to see these symbols like that and the metaphor to realize how extremely profound running towards the light is, to come to full knowledge of and make the connection, the direct connection of touching the tip of the finger of Yahweh, of Yeshua, and continually eating his fruit of knowledge, and realizing everything else is irrelevant other than hopefully being able to share with somebody the truth about our nature, and where we originally come from, to break free from the chains of the lies that want to keep us earthbound, great work. And then, then we can think about the primitive peoples around the world. When I say primitive, I just mean the impoverished. They don't have the ability to go to school. Children, boys and girls are living in junkyards and dumps in Asia, or island countries, or India, other parts of the world. They're living in the dump yard, harvesting from the dump yard where they're, disease-ridden, infested, with virus, pollution. I mean, it's just horrific. When there's no need, there's such an abundance of resource for everybody to live and eat, that they engineer not just war but poverty.
Yeah.
They want to keep us down. They have to keep us down.
Yeah.
Well, we have a poverty. Our poverty is in our mind. We got food, shelter, and clothing, and we're as stupid gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we think at the same time we're the most sophisticated.
Yes. Yes. The dumber we get, the smarter we think we are. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Exactly. Wow. Just wow, Desert. While you were speaking before, when you were reading about the symbolism of the sun, I should have taken more notes, because every few minutes a light bulb went off in my head, and I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, I'm just seeing, I know I repeat this a lot, but I'm just seeing the parallels with everything. I'm seeing the truth, and I'm seeing how they do it with the lie, how they copy and mimic, and they're not original with any of their deception. It's all on repeat, and it's all a copy or mimicking. Yeah. Sorry, I just ran out of words. Aishavors.
Right.
Yeah.
When you wake up to the truth, and then you realize how they only get the ones who are totally under the spell. But once you wake up, then you really see how inferior and how stupid their little game is. It's just it's an unfolding that continues. That even when people think they woke up, they haven't woke up. They woke up to a certain truth. They discovered something. Whoa, okay, I get it. But then they really still don't get it, because what it is they're still earthbound. They're earthbound, and they have to be set free from the earth. That is because we're not of the earth, and therefore they still want to get follow the political, follow the daily news about what happened in Germany, or what happened in France, or what happened and I mean, I'm talking the political. That they think somehow studying the political is going to be transforming in their being, or that they're being informed. Or like, who was it? The famous writer here in America from 100 years ago. I can't remember his name, but he said, people who don't read the newspaper are uninformed, and the people who do read the newspaper are misinformed. And so it is that Mark Twain. That was Mark Twain. And so we're watching a cartoon. Everything in this drama here on Earth is created for our diversion. They've got to keep the slaves on the plantation diverted and entertained. So it's either diversion or entertainment. Some people are happy to be slaves, and they're just watching New World Order wrestling, or they're watching the ball game, and having the beer and the potato chips, rooting for their guy. It's either this guy or that guy. There's always one guy against another. One team against the other team. I'm the better team. You're the worst team. And so it's the same with the political. It's either the Democrats or the Republicans. This is my team. That's your team. And yet they can't figure out that a house divided cannot stand. Just like in Israel, it was Pharisees, Sadducees, and so they just this is the divide and conquer strategy. So it's men against women, it's white against black, it's rich against poor. It's it's that's the other game. See, and so they figured us out. They figured us out a long time ago,
Yeah.
and they know exactly how to manipulate our senses and our inner cravings and our so we're watching a political charade that's nothing different than a cartoon. I
Yep.
related to Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. It's just like, okay, and then people are talking about it like, okay, do you think Mickey Mouse is going to marry Minnie Mouse this year? Man, I hope so. I think they look good, the couple, And it's just a little cartoon, and that's all the political charade is. You got, during the election of, here in America with Hillary Clinton, one of the most wicked people on the face of the planet for her entrenched deception on mankind and the murders that they have instituted against people who are waking up to them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
don't lose your thought here, Desert. That's bad on radio. Where was I going with this?
Hillary, bad person.
The cartoon. Well, the cartoon of the illusion. I was going there with that. My head is spinning.
Okay. We have cartoon. What do you call it? I can't say that. Caricatures.
Oh no, I remember where I was going. Okay,
of all our politicians here. Yeah, I was hoping I'd prompt your memory. So please continue.
All right.
Yeah.
We have during the election. They have an annual meeting up in New York City, and it's with the Jesuits, and the Knights Malta Catholics and the Freemasons, and so they're all there toasting each other, kissing each other's big toe, and then so we got the Jesuit cardinal, and who's sitting on his right and on his left, but Trump and Hillary Clinton, right? If that isn't the picture that tells us who these people really are, right? Left hand, right hand. It's all the same hand.
Exactly.
Got a call. Is you still there? And so the right hand, left hand, and so when they're at the dinner, right in between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is the Jesuit cardinal with his red beanie cap on, and so if we can, so what did Confucius say? Signs and symbols rule the world.
Yes, they do.
Signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. So don't listen to what they say. Look at what they're doing. Look at who they're hanging out with. And I want to welcome Jason to the program here. Good to have you, Jason. And thanks for joining us. A little late. You ought to hear from the beginning. I did a good primer on some loss, on the corruptions of transliterations, by the way. And so there you go, Ninja. It's the symbolism, and so it's a charade. And it's not worth our time. I only follow it periodically, very gently, with a very limited amount of time, just a few minutes. I might watch a clip of something because I do want to know where we're going on the surface of this planet, because they are about to institute further destruction, further warfare. The warfare is a new PSYOP game, called Firestorm, and using a very superior now technology like Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
What we talked about 30 years ago in the 1990s when I was in the political movement, we talked about Project Bluebeam, that they were going to use it to start fires on Earth, to focus on certain communities and burn them alive. Yeah, we talked about it 25 years ago, and here it is. Now I'm still here when a lot of good people have died off that were exposing this stuff. We're witnessing it now. So that's a reality. That is their game, but certainly it's a game where people are dying and suffering. So I do want to follow the political charade, but I'm not caught up in it.
Yeah.
I don't buy into a single thing they say.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have to vote. I have to vote on Saturday. What's today? It's now Friday morning. I have to vote tomorrow, Saturday. And this is like the first time in like the last 3 prime ministers or something that we've actually been given the choice to vote. And what's the point? Because they just put who they want in there anyway. Because like you said, it's all a charade. They're all bickering and carrying on and making false promises here, there and everywhere. And they're using terrorism, vaccines, you name it, all those topics that are all over the internet, that mainstream is calling fake news and conspiracies. They're using all of those topics to promote whatever agendas and false promises they have to win the election, and it's just a bunch of idiots. And yeah, every time I see an ad or one of them speaking, I can't help it. I'm disgusted, absolutely disgusted with what is running our country. Yeah, it's all ridiculous. It's all a distraction. Yeah, to keep everybody's eyes turned away, so they never find the truth. Yeah, I think I'm done with my little speech. Yeah, I really don't want to do it. I don't want to vote on Saturday, but yeah. Anyway.
Are you have to? Are you obligated?
Yeah, we have to. We get fined if we don't, and I can't afford $50 fine.
You get fined.
We get fined if we don't vote, and yet we haven't been given a choice. They've just shoved a new Prime Minister in there for the last 3 of them. This time we get to vote. Yeah, and if we don't, we get fined. Yep. Yeah. One more thing.
That's
one more.
What you call control.
Yeah, one more quick thing. This is absolutely ridiculous as well. Mum got a letter from the electoral roll people commission, whatever it's called, because she's still on there. Mum got a letter in the mail the other day. Obviously it had this address, where we are. It had this address on the letter. It had her full name, and it had a paragraph saying that she needs to vote, she needs to have an opinion, she has dementia, but she needs to vote, otherwise she will get into trouble. And underneath the paragraph was a list of places where you can go to vote, which are nowhere near our suburb, which was written at the top of the letter. The polling places that they had on the list were direct north, like I'm in North Canberra, on the northwest Canberra. These were directly north, half-hour car drive away. They can't even get it right on the letter. Yeah, it just, the whole thing was ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. Now I have to drag Mum down there and explain to them, or just say, look at my mum, ask her a question and tell me if you think she should be voting. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I've had my little rant. That's what this world is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're spelling me here with the conversation. I've got a little more voice back. Did you want to do a little bit of the Aryan expose of the what I've been reading out of the dictionary, or I know you're late over there, so we can wrap it up now, unless you.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. After seeing the other program this morning, it inspired me even more. So you go for as long as you want. Desert, this is your program. So
because there's a lot of important information to get out. I know the Aryan aspect of the Sumerian culture, and the what I've been reading out of the dictionary is absolutely revolutionary, revelatory, and therefore I've been doing it on the programs. And if I can do it, I didn't want to leave it off because people may be following this as well. So starting out, we're in the book, The Aryan Origin of the Alphabet, and we're reading individual letters. This chapter is chapter 7, individual letters and their evolution from Sumerian parents. And so we'll do a review of the letters each time we go through here. So this is opening it first, and then we'll review the letters, because it's really telling. You want to be able to know how you've been tricked, and the scam. It's been a scam. We should have had the root from the beginning. The root
just disconnected again?
Well, I guess somebody decided for us how the program's going to host and established by these tables. And of course, the tables are on the side here. They're plate 1 and 2 and 3. I'll have to get pictures of these and I'll shoot them to you and you can post them. So when we're talking about them, you can be looking at them. This is significant.
Cool.
And,
I love that.
If you want to see it, this is far superior to anything I've seen in what came later on, because they're trying to water down this truth. They don't want us to get the picture and follow the trail back, which is what's been my whole pursuit here in this story. Okay, and thus closed established by these tables, and it is seen that notwithstanding their abbreviated form for rapidity in writing. So there you go, abbreviated right there. Let me just underline that terminology. They're abbreviated because that's their skill, that's their game, is abbreviation for rapidity in writing. Where am I at here? Okay, and so for already attained in pre-dynastic and early dynastic Mesa, Egypt, for popular and secularly use. Most of the letters, even in our modern alphabet, still retain the leading features of the object represented in their ancestral early Sumerian pictographs. Okay?
Wow, yeah.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Still main.
Wow.
Nothing's changed. Just like the letter A in the eagle. See how they did the trick? They changed the letter A in the eagle to the, which is the agal, to the eagle. And that's the same, like, remember I talked about where do you put an easel? You put it on, the easel is an A-frame, and it's really an A-fill. An A-fill, right? You can see it makes the shape of an A, but they call it the E-fill because they didn't want you to get the picture.
You put pictures on an easel. Easel, yeah.
Yeah, it's an A-fill.
Wow.
The symbol is what you put the board on.
Yeah.
And the A is the tripod that holds it up.
Yeah, they're putting it in our faces all the time, constantly.
Yeah. They just have to lie about everything,
Yeah.
They're psychopathic liars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so in our still retain the leading features of the object represented in their ancestral early Sumerian pictograms. Thus, A has the features of a wavelet. There you go, ba-ba-ba-boom, wavelet, as the aquatic sign. B, a mass in division or bifurcation. So the B was a interpolator though because it was a V. It was AVG, but then they made it ABC. Nice waves there, Ninja.
Thanks, Desert. I've been waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah. You can keep that one up there, okay? I don't care. But a massive division, a biseau, goes to the B, that shows that they just divided something. It's a clue if we can interpret the symbol correctly. And when you split the B, capital B, you get 13 for the lunar months, meaning a solar cult. And so the early Sumerians wrote their pictograms upright or vertically, but later in Mesopotamia they turned them all on their sides to the left hand of the writer to face the left in their system of writing and reading from left to right in the Aryan fashion. There's account for some of the alphabetic letters in the Phoenician script being turned on their left side, such as the Semitic Phoenician. That may be a misnomer because it seems that the Phoenicians are later, but they are certainly Celtic and Canaanite. So they are the redhead spotted culture, and Semitic implies more Aryan, whereas the merchants and the warfaring class on the ships were redhead spotted predominantly. They were run by the Aryans. Okay, so continuing here, such as the Semitic. Let me try this again. This accounts for some of the alphabetic letters in the Phoenician script being turned on their left sides or their right sides, meaning even our letters on our capital letters today, they turn them over. They flip them upside down, they turn them backwards. That's how they hide the code. Okay, in the Phoenician script being turned on their left side, such as the Semitic Phoenician A, which is the Cadmean turned on the its left side, see plate 1. And similarly, for the supplanting of the ribs of the E and the H, etc. in that script. Here, the somewhat varying form of the letters in different local alphabets is obviously due to partly to local mannerisms or conventional writing analogous to the variant local forms given to the Sumerian pictograms when reproduced in the more elaborate and artistic Egyptian hieroglyphics and in the Sumerian hieroglyphics on the Indo-Sumerian seals in the Indus Valley, partly to the difference in the writing material by pen and ink or brush or wet clay or chiseled or...
It just disconnected again.
Okay. And
Sorry, I don't...
We'll leave it there in this book, and then I'll go into that other dictionary real quick. We'll do one letter a day, and that way we'll be able to see what it says about these original letters and how they've played their trick and their trap and their trade. So, okay, so here we are in still into introduction, and this is the topic is Aryan, essentially a racial ethnic term. And I read that first paragraph last night, so I'll continue where I left off from Forbidden History Live. You have to go there to hear the first part in that, ladies and gentlemen. It is similarly used in a racial or ruling sense by the Sumerians, the Akkads or the Akkadians, Amorites, and Hittites. In its earlier form of Ar or Ara or Ari or Har or Hari, also meaning exalted or noble, see these in the dictionary. And similarly, with a like meaning in ancient Maitar Egypt, see Hare, Hirai, under the dictionary. And the ancient Greek name, Aria, there's area.
Yeah.
And synonymous with Aryan, so what area do you live in? They claim the earth, okay? Or Hari, or Aryans. And the Medes, as Herodotus records, were formerly called Ari, or the Ariana, or land of the Ari. There's where we also get irrigation, because they bring forth the river of light and everything else associated with creation. Eri was a little Persia, and the source of the land of the Ari was a title of Persia, and the source of the modern name for Iran, for that land. Iran, you can see Aryan in there. So the title Hari is used by the Mitanni, or the early Medes, on their records of about 1400 BC. Darius the Great calls himself in his tomb Ario, or the Ario descent. It is the title title, the Her title of the ancient gods in their great epics of the Eddas, and source of modern Her, or master of the Teutons and the Scandinavians, of the Irish Celtic Aria, of a chief, the Aria chief, the Kea, or nobleman, and of the R in aristocratic, CRA, or Aryan in dictionary. This title R, or Ari, Aria, or Aryan appears, as I have shown, to have originally designated the early Aryans as the plowmen. I think I read this on here before. Now that I'm reading this, I feel like I read this.
I'm thinking harvest is coming up very soon. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll remember to move my tag next time, but I don't mind doing this again.
I don't mind
The
hearing
plowman,
it again.
Okay. The plowman. Aryan means the plowman. They're plowing the earth, right?
Yeah.
They're designing our civilizations from the Sumerian R, AR for plow, R for arm, because you use your arms on the plow, Ara for plow, irrigation, which is now disclosed as the source of the Old English ear, and so which means the plow. We hear, and therefore we do. The ear to the ground. The plowing with the A is meaning the star. The R is also the star, as we see in the word czar. You put a Z in front of it, czar. And so it means to go straight in a straight line at the same time, and of arable, etc. R, plow, see it in the dictionary. The Aryans are now seem to have been the traditional inventors of the plow and of the agricultural era of the world, and the sense of Aura, or the exalted ones, sky god, sun god, not from Nibiru, not living 35,000 years, but those who
Every 35,000 years.
From the light.
Wow, that's sorry. I haven't. You might have mentioned it, but yeah, the one I used to hear about was every 3,600 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
So the exalted ones appears to have been used for this title when this gifted race became the rulers of various Aboriginal tribes.
Okay.
The Sumerian also gives us the plow sign, the meaning of raise up or exalted, as the secondary meaning of plowing, as uplifting of the earth, and see Aura, exalt in the dictionary. Sit here. The present day unwarranted restrictions of this racial term Aryan to language was merely introduced about half a century ago by Germanic writers in order to support the Teutonic theory of the Teutonic origin of the English and Norse languages. And till then, Germans, largely owing to the writings and reputation of the English philologist Max Muller, were regarded as leading European representatives of the Aryan race and tongue. In 1871, however, the eminent French anthropologist M.D. Quatrefages conclusively demonstrated that the prevailing head form of the Prussians, the dominant Germans, was round-headed and not long-headed, which is the Aryan type. Thus, the long-headed, meaning a tall, very pronounced versus these other, skull types. Thus, proving that the Prussians and with them the bulk of the German people are a race, as a race, were not all Aryans at all, and thus fully confirmed by subsequent observers, and also in regard to the prevailing head form throughout Germany, forced in this way to abandon the racial use of Aryan for the Germans in general. Max Muller and the Germanic school still cling to the title of Germanic or Teutonic, which they had gratuitously applied to the whole family of the Aryan languages in Europe, and accordingly limited the use of Aryan to a linguistic sense, and by mere mechanical repetition, this nomenclature of Germanic or Teutonic as the equivalent of Aryan language in Europe is still used by docile English and continental philologists and grammar writers, excepting the French. The unfoundedness of his claim that the German or Teutonic tongue is the oldest and purest Aryan tongue in Europe is everywhere evidenced by the word facts themselves throughout this comparative dictionary. So nonetheless, we can say that the diction is riding on the Aryan wings. Okay, so that's regardless, because we know mixing of culture, mixing of races and seed is a given. But the fact that they're riding on the Aryan Indo-Germanic is significant and the good news. It is there seen that the English, Briton, Anglo-Saxon, Eddic, and Eastern Gothic, Norse, Celtic, French, and Italian words generally all preserve relatively pure and older forms than the German. But the German has quite a legacy, nonetheless. In spite of that, keywords at least, that like y'all, the y'all is expressive of that y'all, the da y'all, what goes round, and that it never changed. It's been preserved all the way through. Which, moreover, let me back up here. So generally all preserve relatively pure and older forms, and we should say the modern day German, which was engineered just like English, which moreover wants a considerable proportion of the more elementary Aryan words. The elementary, you see. It's elementary, my dear Watson, always. Similarly, in regard to the important Gothic groups, including the uniquely important, famous ancient epic poems of the Eddas, written in runes, and preserving a dialect of the ancient Britain, to which Teutons lay claim. It is significant, as the leading runic scholar, Professor Stevens of Copenhagen, has pointed out, that no runic monuments so common in Britain, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark have ever been found in Germany. Rather interesting, nonetheless. So there we go, another slice out of the Sumerian-Aryan dictionary. But they didn't want us to know, but we tell right here in Ninja, and so somebody's got to do it, and I'm just the glutton for that kind of punishment right here. Okay? So, well, it looks like we've done enough damage today, and we lost the majority of our audience due to lethargy and wanting to fall asleep on all of these great details. Which,
and the
well,
OBS,
could be boring,
the OBS,
unless you had passion for it.
yeah, the OBS didn't help. So.
Well, that's true. OBS didn't help.
Yeah.
But our diehards have obviously stuck with us, and thank you for those diehards. And, so, anything else on your end before we wrap it up here?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm still picking my jaw up. Like I said before, I think I said it before, I need to borrow Shelley's spatula.
Yeah. But you're going to be staring up at the ceiling tonight and counting all, So you heard it here first, and they didn't want you to know that we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it. And so, Ninja, I want to thank you for your production today and all those fine graphics and your dedication towards truth. May you live forever, because it's in your destiny now, and you have to pursue it with a passion and let nothing stand in your way, because there will be things standing in your way. That's the nature of this world.
Yeah.
So everything's a challenge. Ask Yeshua for wisdom, right?
Yeah, I've learned a lot this week. It's been a really tough week and just physically exhausting, and that's been weighing me down mentally, but at the same time making me stronger. I can't believe I can't get over how with it I have been through this stream. My brain sort of kicked in this morning during Forbidden History Live. I felt like I was back, amongst the exhaustion and the distractions and everything. So that there's just more evidence to me that the struggle is there to make us stronger. We can either go down with it, or we can get strength from it and learn from it. And I think
Right.
my words have run out again. Yeah, so thank you.
So that's great, and we'll be back on Friday night at on Forbidden History Live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll play it again, Sam.
Yes,
Sam,
we will.
That's Sam is code word for the Luciferians. That's why we here in America we got Uncle Sam. Samael. Samael is the Lucifer in the occultic.
What about Sam backwards? Sorry, I was just thinking.
Mass. Yeah, you get the Catholic Mass, right?
Yeah.
Sam is the Mass. Yeah, it's all under the spell.
Wow.
Oh, I love those waves, Ninja. Those waves just crashing in. It's very soothing.
Yeah, I was waiting because you were talking about the sun the whole time. I was waiting for you to mention ocean or waves or something, so that I could click on it. Yeah.
Okay, you got it. All right, with the A waves, you got it. So, all right. So we it's a wrap, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and on the recordings as well. As people come in the future, hope people get the idea of the things that people are not talking about, that we didn't get in school, and it's all relevant to to who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are. At least it's important to me. I hope it's important to you. But remember, if you want to know the future, then you simply need to look for the forbidden history, because it's all right here. What they didn't want you to know, coming your way on NinjaCat 111 every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, every Sunday 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So come on down and join us. Love to hear from you, Ninja. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and light.
Thank you, Desert. Thank you, Desert. Peace and light to you. Okay. I have no more Ace of Oars left. So I'm going to leave you with some beautiful music and some pretty flowers. I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you, Ya Love, and Shelley and Lynn. I know you're not here. You had to go, but thank you anyway. And many thanks to Mew Mew for that fantastic owlet picture. And Jace, thank you for joining. And any new listeners out there that were listening, please come back, because this is the truth. You won't hear it anywhere else. Okay, so that's it for me. I'll see you guys here on Sunday, and in the chat on Friday at Forbidden History Live. All links are in the description. Okay, love you guys.